Welcome on the show.
Yeah, great. All right. Thank you very much for inviting me on.
Can you just lay a little bit of the groundwork in terms of profitability when it comes to the Amazon vendor model?
We've summarized the three areas. The first is cost of goods and the distributions. Moving on to the Amazon terms, you have a relationship, a document that sets out the costs and the terms associated with the relationship with Amazon. And then marketing, something that really trips some vendors up. How that relates to the cost price and at the end, profitability.
Why don't we start at the bottom, Nick, with COGS and distribution?
This is their bread and butter. It's all the things that you would consider when trying to develop a cost price that you would present to Amazon as part of this profitability equation. So that really covers the first part, which is just understanding the costs and then getting the products to an Amazon fulfillment center so we can start this B2B relationship. As a vendor, you will have agreed some terms with Amazon, and that will set out how your relationship will work in terms of B2B. Attention to detail here is absolutely critical. The first one, I'll just start at the top left, the AVS. So this is dedicated support. Vendor support. This is somebody on the inside in Amazon that's essentially oiling the wheels to help you exploit every opportunity to its maximum within Amazon, but of course it comes at a cost. Some of the other things are based on a percentage of net receipts, so they scale with your sales, but things like freight allowance, more relevant to the US. Damage allowance, that's a percentage. It's usually based as a calculation, as an average of returns and disposal costs per sector that you're selling in. Subscribe and save. So, if people are subscribing to one of your products and they buy it regularly, then there's a percentage there they can save, and that's funded by the vendor. There's co-op activities. Now, this catches a lot of people out. One of the components of co-op is what's called automated marketing or marketing development funds. So it's creating the environment for vendors to be successful on. So this is valuable, but it's just crucially important that people don't mistake that there are additional costs on top. And then there's things like return rights. So if a product isn't selling very well, Amazon might choose to exercise that right and send the stock back, and that might be a surprise for people. So again, it's critical that people understand all of these areas, take the time to look in detail at what the percentage is, but also model that in terms of their profitability.
Of all of these additional expenses, which ones are more fixed and sort of agreed annually, and you can really predict it and budget for it, versus which ones are variable?
Most of these are knowable, and it will scale with your sales. And so you can build a percentage in on net receipts, and that's a pretty good way. Obviously you'll reconcile that each week, each month, each quarter, each year, whatever your timeframes are, to make sure that you're tracking, and the more frequently the better. But most of them are scalable. Chargeback, that is the one that's unpredictable. It's in your control, but only if you know what it is you're controlling. I've tried to set it out at the top there. We've put a timeline or a flow in a sense of the things that you would do with your B2B relationship with Amazon and where you might start to pick up some of these chargebacks. So we'll start off with the PO process. This is Amazon saying we'd like to order a certain amount of product. Now, you might happily go ahead and accept that order for a volume of X number of SKUs, not realizing that you might not have all of the stock to meet that demand. Now, that's a serious issue. Then we go through to the preparations. So, Amazon's placed an order, there's a shipping window, you get ready to actually dispatch those products. You have to make sure that they are prepared properly. Things are done incorrectly, then it's going to require manual intervention to fix it, or some rework. And what does that mean? It means cost. If those issues are a result of the vendor doing something wrong, then those costs are going to be passed on to the vendor. And that's essentially what a chargeback is. So it is critical that vendors understand everything about how that preparation should be done, and how things should be delivered, and why things have to be done on time. And then so we go through logistics and transportation. Things can go wrong there, and then onto the receiving side when Amazon gets the items and checks them. Now, a lot of these chargebacks can individually be quite small, but the point is it's per product item, per time it happens, per marketplace, and this stuff really adds up and can be very significant. Although it's sort of here, there, and everywhere, if you don't aggregate this and keep control of it, it could be a disaster in terms of profitability. It's important you try and anticipate what orders Amazon might be placing upon you, looking at not just the sales in, but the sales out. So you can see the velocity and which products start to pick up. There'll be certain seasonality you might want to take account of for certain products. You don't end up rejecting or part accepting orders where you might have had the opportunity much more.
In the context of Q4, it's peak trading at this sort of silly season, let's call it that, from at least from a supply chain point of view. How do you talk to your clients about, the need to prioritize Amazon vendor?
As accurate forecasting as you can based on historical data, understanding the terms so that you can put a risk associated and maybe a range is also a good thing. So a high, medium, low forecast, and then that gives people the information they need and confidence to say, well, we can put that much stock through to Amazon, and we're confident that most of it would sell.
We're going to move on to the whole marketing aspect.
So it is absolutely critical for vendors to pay a lot of attention to everything to do with marketing. That's advertising, deals, lightning, hero deals, and so on, vouchers, price promotions, and you'd be expected to fund these. All of these areas are critical to include in your overall profitability analysis of Amazon as a B2B partner. Measure is everything. Make sure you understand all of the costs, and you can even go down to SKU level. So you can do SKU, product group, marketplace, and you can see what attributable costs there are for each of those categories.
Marketing packages is something that's probably a bit more unique to the Amazon vendor seller. Can you give some examples of that? Like practically, how does it work?
It could be big. I mean, it's following people around on Amazon, but it's big branded headlines, for example.
Yep.
There's some very specific. There's a few different types of packages you can buy into in terms of where the advertising is going to appear, how frequently, audience targeting. There's some really fantastic stuff in there in terms of the capability you've got with the vendor. If you've got an ADS and they would support you, people like us can support you in terms of how you would spend money in that area to give you good results.
What is the best way to get in touch?
And we have our website, boom.pl. So love you to come and follow our LinkedIn page, and we'd love to hear from people. We've got a great team, and always love learning about new businesses. So give us a ring.